So while you guys are walking around, I'll do a little thought exercise for you. My name is Michele Drucker. I'm the environmental chair for the Miami-Dade County Council PTA, and I just finished up my term as environmental chair for the Florida PTA. And I wanted to kind of point out there's a resource that we all could tap, which are parents. Parents and students, like the students came before and talked about the urgency they feel, and also kind of keeping it fun. A lot of this stuff is not fun. Like the last speaker who talked about language, you want to bring the fun, kind of try to bring the fun back to this exercise. There was a really good TED talk a few years back by a professor from Colorado State University, and she says education alone is not an indicator that people will change their habits. You have to get them changing their habits for them to change their habits. You've got to create opportunities for people to engage in the behavioral changes that we all recognize need to happen. And a good example of what I see as a parent is there's a big disconnect between curriculum that's communicated to kids, what we should be doing, and how we have a recycling crisis, we have a waste crisis, and we have a climate crisis. And then they turn around in their school and they see buses that idle, food waste in the cafeteria, classrooms that are freezing. It's that do as I say, not as I do. And kids see that. Kids see that hypocrisy, and I think that does contribute to the 86% of students that have anxiety about the climate. So with that said, when people think about recycling or a waste crisis, who here thinks that recycling is one of the top 20 activities that we can take to stabilize our climate? You guys are all you're experts in here. Who thinks that? Recycling. Woohoo, recycling. Yes, it's a hazard. We want to get rid of the plastic. And if you ask kids, they'll say, yes, I'm going to recycle. It's so important, recycling. So what I point out to students is that in terms of the greenhouse gas emissions that could be saved if we recycled properly, it's about the equivalent of taking all cars off US roads, passenger cars, for 2.5 years, so 2.5 gigatons. Who knows what the number 3 climate solution is? And if you need a hint, it's like on the front of this little table runner. Who knows what the number 3 climate solution is? Compost. Who thinks it's compost? Compost. Woohoo, compost. All right. Anybody else? I know Steve Leiter knows this. Come on, Steve. All right. It's food waste reduction, right? Reducing our food waste, right, at the source, obviously from the farm and the transportation, but also in our own households. So when I explain this to kids, so compost, this was made with cafeteria food waste. So this is a solution, like recycling, about 2.5 gigatons. So taking all cars off US roads for 2.5 years, passenger cars. But food waste reduction, it's 70 gigaton. 70 years. It is so enormous. And when students learn that and they make that connection, they go, right? Parents too. So we had an event last Sunday, and I want to thank Renewables, Xavier, who's here, and Lynette Sobel at the Coral Gables Congregational Church, where we basically tried to educate students and families and stakeholders and teachers about this really critical solution. And our schools are the #1 source of food waste in the county, schools and prisons. So here it is, right here, our schools reducing the food waste, where our students are interacting every day with solutions. So that's what we tried to communicate, and I'm going to just focus on this aspect. So here is an opportunity that all parents, students can engage in. It's a share table, really basic. If you're not going to eat the food, you can put it to the side, and another student who might be hungry, he can consume it. So it's that waste hierarchy where we distribute food first to people, then animals. That's a little trickier in the school setting. And then we can try to reduce it through composting. So this is the share table image for Miami-Dade schools. What is disappointing about this, and this is what we tried to empower parents with at this last meeting, was the share table options, very limited, only non-perishables. Oh, 5 minutes, only non-perishables. But the Florida Department of Agriculture, federal laws, the Bill Emerson Good Samaritan Act, Florida statutory laws allow us to collect and donate perishables. Why? Spacebar? I don't know if that's working. Oh, sorry. So this is a refrigerator at one of the schools, and we gave parents, here's the policy for Miami-Dade schools, because a lot of times when parents want to help, they get caught up in the administration. A lot of, it's always no first before it's yes. So this is Food Rescue US. They do a lot of food recovery, and they want to teach that to the students as well. And there are the perishables that can go to a community fridge that can be donated. It may not be permissible for the students after the lunch hour to consume those perishables, but it can all be donated so we can recover that food. And that's the Florida Department of Agriculture's image, just to highlight, you have regulatory, legal authority, and the state promotes it as well. So it empowers families to say, wait a minute, what about that? Why can't we donate the milk? Why are you telling us we have to throw it away? And then getting the students involved. They are so grateful for these share tables because it bothers them. It eats them up inside. They know they're taking a milk and throwing it right in the trash because they're required to take these food items from the cafeteria line, even though they just want, the pizza, they don't want the milk, and it really does bother them. So they're really grateful when they're able to be part of the solution. This is a food waste audit that we did with renewables. Up to 68% of everything leaving our cafeteria, 61 to 68%, could be recovered to be redistributed or composted. Come on. That just gives you a sense of how much is being discarded. And that was one school where we really broke it down. I want to thank World Wildlife Fund for providing the funding for these opportunities, which really informs policy. That's using AI to do a food waste audit. Right, these were the kids we tried to do what we call front of kitchen composting, post-consumer waste. It was a disaster. So we pivoted because the custodians would untether the trash and the compost. And if you don't have it together, then you basically get trash. So here's the other thing we tried to explain to parents. You could really scale up. You could have a share cart. You could have food donations. You could have composting. And if you really want to go next level, let's get rid of these items, right? The disposables, even though this does have the BPI, and let's pivot. And I don't know if John Podesky's here. Hi, John. He sent us these sporks. As parents, if we tell them, you can get this for free in your school, plastic-free restaurants, just provide 3 months of inventory. And when you show this to parents, they get excited. The kids get excited. I don't know. The other thing that we leverage is student peer-to-peer learning. So a lot of seniors in high schools, especially the ones that are very high achieving, like the young women that were here, by the time they're a senior, they've done all their core classes. They're doing things like sort of fluff fillers where they fetch coffee for teachers doing these, I forget what these extra classes. Well, we said, why don't we create a sustainability lunchtime position so students can talk to other students about the issue of plastic waste. We had a mental health awareness around climate anxiety. We also gave them prizes if they brought in their reusable water bottles or cutlery. That's another point to leverage. And once the students get involved, they get excited. So these are just more solutions that we are proposing, and also try to get other stakeholders. We got the University of Miami students that are now going to try to volunteer in schools that are within walking distance of the university. And I guess that's pretty much it. I don't want to take up too much more time, but the core issue is enable the parents, give them the information, leverage the student enthusiasm, and get people engaged in doing something. Talking about it doesn't change behavior. Changing behavior changes behavior. Thank you.